A lot of our culture actually stems from a very, very long time ago. I'm speaking of first, the myths of origins. Never dismiss a myth of origin. If you go to a people who believe that they came from a mountain, do not doubt it. If they tell you they came from a dragon, do not doubt it. Now, let's talk about angel numbers. It's a very big thing these days. Angel numbers, and some angel numbers are associated with mostly helpful kind of insinuations or things. I would like to refer you to the book of, to the script of Enki. You can find it, there's an audiobook online, you can search it and find it. This is where you'll see the actual foundation of the concept of angel numbers. Now, the thing about the script of Enki is that the writer is writing as one of the angels, and he narrates the whole journey, life on earth, the flood of Noah, and after the flood, something changed in the relationship between the men and the angels. The angels decided to separate themselves from the men, which I think is still there. Wait, let me not. It's very probable that that has since changed, okay? Considering scriptures like Revelations, which talk about in the last day, the devil getting thrown down to the earth from heaven and coming to inflict the people who are living on earth with all kinds of bad things. So I'll not rule out a second visitation. So about the angel numbers, according to the writer of this book, when the gods decided to separate themselves, they decided to create a system through which they could be summoned. Hence the institution of religion. That's how they actually instituted religion upon the earth. And they actually created, not as such created, but revealed to man the numbers which pertained to each of them. So each of the angels, depending on their rank, and something very interesting with the angels, and when I'm referring about these angels, I want you to consider and have this at the back of your mind. When the angels descended upon the earth, they, for some reason, not sure what happened between them and men, but somehow they ended up taking authority over men. Probably they were higher ranking than the rank of men. I think I've spoken about the power of men in another video, because it's written, I think it's in the Apocryphon of John, that as what we now know as the devil kept expanding in his realms, and his realms were quite expansive. I'm talking about spiritual realms. Some of them ended up gaining control over the realms that are righteous, the realms of righteousness, because some of their powers that emanated from this beginning of evil, some of them ended up being matching the powers of righteousness. And that's why you read in the Bible that even Satan transforms himself into a minister of righteousness. That is not a superficial transformation. It's a very in-depth kind of reality where there are entire realms dedicated to powers that are actually righteous in nature. Okay, since I do not know exactly the form that these powers would take, let me not speculate. But I believe that this is the reason why in Daniel, if you read carefully, Daniel chapter 7, you'll find that when the saints take authority and when Christ takes authority, only one power that was fighting the saints, only one of the four beasts that are found in Daniel chapter 7, only one of them gets bound. What happens to the rest of the three? They're not bound, and you're living in a season of righteousness. That's why I tell people that the mission of Christ has been gravely underestimated. These are nations, they are principalities whose assignments is switched at the turn of the age. Now, this can also be verified by the prophets. There's one of the prophets, I can't remember the particular one right now, who says that some of these powers, because in the prophets, they are usually their works. The works of darkness are referred to as adultery. But according to one of these prophets, there are some nations that were practicing whoring, that in the coming age of Christ, they will be whoring according to the wording of the scripture, but they will be whoring righteousness. Now, I believe it's in reference to these powers. Now, the angel numbers, when the gods or the angels, because these were beings that had immense powers, for one, at that time, man was living in a realm that was somehow in some kind of a bondage. If you want to understand the kind of bondage that the earth is in, you have to read the Apocryphon of John. Yeah. Or it's basically I think you can find portions of it or references of it in the script of Enki also, when the dragon, as he's called, attacks the mother. Okay. Now remember, there's nothing on this earth that would exist without God. So this is an explanation of the origin of evil that you'll find in the script of Enki when it's talking of the birth of the dragon, or the coming into being of the dragon. You'll find this mentioned in different names, because remember, these people were not speaking the same tongue that you're speaking. So the names will a lot depend on, first, the language of the nation that took down in writing what they were speaking and what they were referring to these angels as. And two, it will also depend on the language of the interpreter. That's the second. And third, also, which we tend to ignore, the understanding of the interpreter is also very important, because most of these things are usually an interpretation of their understanding rather than a word-for-word interpretation, because of the discrepancies between languages. So anyway, when the angels decided to separate themselves, remember, these were very powerful beings. They came in different ranks, and when they came, they subdivided the earth. This is very important. They subdivided the earth, especially this is recorded when they are, according to that script, it's recorded that when they were separating themselves, and even before that, I think they had already done some kind of separation. By that I mean taking territory. This is mine, this is mine, this area is mine, this area is mine. That's why we have spiritual principalities upon the earth. These are realms that are ruled by specific angels. So in the spirit realm, there are princes and there are also kings. As in, there's order, just like it will be in a natural human kingdom. So you'll find kings according to their rank, and according to their closeness to the throne, you'll find princes. Actually, this is where the concept of purity of blood came from, because don't forget that men mingled their blood with the angels. And it is written in Genesis that the giants, these children of the angels, became great men of the world. They created kingdoms, ruled, conquered lands, and were very great upon the earth. And some of these practices that we have today actually stem from the practices that they learned from their fathers. So when the angels separated themselves, each of them had a number associated with them according to their abilities, according to their powers. So they taught men rituals, which is why we have some very various, and there are very many rituals, diverse, of summoning the diverse kinds of gods that are still being worshipped currently. They did this because, first of all, as I've said, they were kings, princes. And what do kings do? They judge, they give petitions. So they taught men ways that they could approach them with petitions. And of course, because they were spiritual too, and they were using spiritual powers, they had to find ways of activating the physical into the spiritual, connecting that physical to the spiritual. That's why most of the signs and spiritual totems will have an element of movement, or ways of moving from this part or connectivity. It was their way of connecting the physical to the spiritual. And there are many religions, including cults, which I think is just a fancy way of labeling a religion. Cults are religions too. This Illuminati and what are these ones called? This one was born out of the French Revolution. The Masonry, they're just religion. There's nothing there like club. Okay, there are other things that come with it, but the foundations are religion and religious practices. Okay, so these numbers, every angel had a number, and combining the number with the practices, they will be able to summon specific angels and thus offer or give petitions. Now that is the beginning of I feel like there's a better word of using instead of religion, but this the use of symbols in practice, symbols and numbers. Numbers are usually, many times you'll find numbers being combined with symbols. So, when you read the problem with this numerology, with specific reference to angels, is that they're only in reference to the descended angels. They're not in reference to the angels of righteousness. So that's why there's a problem when Christian people start depending on angel numbers, because I've seen that it's a very big thing currently. Depending on angel numbers, because these are angels, worshipping of angels, yeah? These are gods. Have no other God besides me. This is what God was referring to. He was trying to condition men into worshipping him instead of a subsidiary or a subservient aspect of creation of God, because these are creatures also. So you're not supposed to be worshipping the creature, you're supposed to be worshipping the creator, which is the Almighty, the Ancient of Days.